We just want people to be, free from the, passport, from the visas. You can go anywhere you want. So I think crypto is still the same thing. We will set people free.
And here we are. So, Harry, I'm so glad to be here with you today. Good morning, actually, good evening for you.
Good morning for you.
Yeah, I'm currently in Lisbon. You are in Hong Kong, and
Uh,
so at this point, who is listening, perfectly. You are the CEO and co-founder of Globevisa, which is
yeah.
the largest migration firm, and we had the chance to meet also recently, and we had such a good chat, and so we told each other, why don't we run a cool podcast? And I have so many questions because your story is very interesting for any entrepreneur out there and everyone who is either in tech but also in general in business. So first of all, can I ask you how Globevisa actually got started and how long time ago?
The reason I entered this business is, it's my first job offer from an immigration consulting firm. Then after 3 years, that's 23 years ago, I started Globevisa with my partner Melvin Sun and from scratch the Globevisa in Beijing at that time. Then the story is quite boring. The same business, the same partner for the next 23 years. One office here, one office there until today. I mean, it is a quite a simple story.
I have a joke on this regard because actually before this interview I went on your LinkedIn, and sometimes you I think there is a it's counterintuitive, but when you see a LinkedIn with 10 different jobs, 10 different brands, and a lot of apparently, dynamism, sometimes in reality, maybe there is not a big story behind. In your case, your LinkedIn is the most straightforward ever. One job, co-founded for 20 plus years, essentially leading all the, well, actually leading this industry. And the kind of question I have is, what did it bring you to found, back then, a company in this sector? Because this sector, I guess, 20 plus years ago
Yeah.
was very much different, right?
Oh, yeah, very different from that thing. It kind of, at the very beginning, 23 years ago, the reason I started this firm is just to make more money. It is that simple. Because that's something I was good at that time. That's something I know. So at that time, it's just to making more money. Because at that time I'm very poor blessing, and besides at that time I met my wife. It's another story. But anyway, I need a lot of money to do a lot of things. So that's the only reason. And after maybe I think like 15 years ago, kind of, I think I made some money. I can afford a very comfortable life. Now, at that time, the things changed, because you are not driven by the money. You are driven. You need some mission or blah blah things. Kind of. At that time, some people I don't, and kind of, I'm a very simple guy. I like running, reading books, so I don't think I will spend a lot of money. So like 15 years ago, I think I'm financially free. So I don't need to work to make more money. So that's a very interesting stage. So 15 years ago, I'm kind of in the middle life crisis. I
Hmm.
don't know what to do, because before you're just driven by the money, things you have to work hard, you have to expand the blessing. But then 15 years ago, you kind of think, why you have to work if you don't need more money, things. But still, it's I kept working very hard. I kept meeting all my clients. Then slowly, I think 1 year and a half, slowly I realized, something, you change people's life. Before, I think I paid more attention to the money issue, financial side. I forgot, just forgot about it. Then I talked, more and more with my clients, and I met a lot of clients in Canada, in US, in everywhere. I met them personally. I really think, wow, it's because they said a lot of good words about me. Oh, you changed my life. I thought, oh, really? I kind of, it's something, quite different. Then another stage. If I talk too much, you can just cut me off anytime you want. I think um it's 3 or 4 years ago. 3 or 4 years ago. 3 or 4 years ago. I think it's a morning. I always share this story. It's in the morning. I'm in my hometown, and then one day I think I'm watching. I was watching a documentary. It's a climbing thing. I think it's called solo blessings. A climber. It's a solo climbing things.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Uh, you know that documentary is quite famous. Yeah, and also I saw that documentary, and I just at the same time I try to Wikipedia his story and get to know something about him. Then in the afternoon, I've just finished my reading of another book. It's about the India woman. Actually, I forgot her name, but she is a chairwoman and the CEO of Pepsi,
Hmm.
the first generation of India, be the chairwoman of Pepsi. You know,
Hmm.
the kind of it's such a big corporate. It's not IT, it's India, not IT. So I just finished that documentary and finished that book. I really realized, something, you know, why they are, so why they so enjoy their career, their climbing, because they just put all their time in that. They are kind of the best in that industry. So kind of at that day, 3 or 4 years ago, I I I I started to realize, I do I do have the potential to be the number one, the best player in this industry. Why I waste my time? Why I just kind of try my best for the rest of my life, to build this very fantasy dream. So I mean that's I don't know how to describe the what happened at that day, but at that day I'm different. No, I'm different. People always say, "Oh, what's your hobby?" My hobby is my work. What's your number two hobby? My number two hobby maybe running or blessings, but my number one hobby is it's my work because, like I told you I'm very good at running, but in the running world I'm nobody. In the running world I'm nobody. I'm literally maybe I'm the number 1 million blessings. I tried so hard to run. But in this immigration world, I already, learn a lot. I already has, that kind of experience. Why don't I, you know, put all the rest of my life into this thing and change a lot of people's life. So kind of,
Can I
in that day, I really
can
felt
I double
I'm a different guy.
can I double click on this, because to be frank, the reason why I'm so excited to be here is that when we had this chat, we were in Dubai. I had the opportunity to meet and sometimes also to work together with exceptional, professionals, businessmen, entrepreneurs, investors, actually. And sometimes you see certain patterns. And in your case, it's a very unique gameplay. And I got really impressed, to be frank. So I started trying to, okay, let's learn. What can I learn? And that's why I think this interview is super cool for me, because, for example, something that remained, initially when we were chatting, was for me very unique, was the obsession to operations, like that I didn't expect a global CEO, to be frank, to be so much operation driven. And for me this was a big lesson, because sometimes, especially even for what we do, business, other startups, it's, the first things, on executive level, is eventually focus on strategy instead on operations. So my question is, mm, let's remain for now on the driver, but mm, what is the driver for you behind the, I mean, okay, you want to change life of people, and um, what has been probably the secret recipe that you use for scaling up more than others and staying in place for 20 years? Because it's not, I don't think it's easy, right? And it's not common in this industry.
Mm. The drive, I think is I always have a picture. For me, I just call, internally, I call Globevisa, I call it's a platform. I think it's a platform. So kind of my drive is I always have a picture. One day, you know, for Globevisa, we can have offices everywhere, literally in every country. And we will cover all the programs, not just for the rich people, cover all the programs, big or small, for labor or for investors, I'm okay. Then one day I can reach that target. I have 1 million clients. Just think about that picture. I think it's wow, it's worth my life. It's worth my life. I'm born in China, but I will always say I'm born on Earth. I just want to know everything. So if we can have that office, I really want all my Globevisa stuff. We can, you know, every year we can just pick 12 offices in 12 different countries. So maybe in the next 30 or 40 years as a Globevisa staff, you can work literally 70 or 80 countries. That's really a very good way to explore the world. So in a way, that's a how to say that's a drive. The kind of I think, wow, I can use this platform to explore the world. Because for me, I'm not a tourist kind of, world experience. I want to know the local, know the business, know the local marketing, and local philosophy, local mindset. I want to explore the very local things. So that's a drive. Besides, you can change 1 million families' life. Oh, that's huge. So why not? Why not do that?
The reason sometimes I love this industry and this trajectory is that when you change 1 million family lives, you are changing also all the generations afterwards. So there is an immense, impact if you look at exponentially. How many offices do you have right now in the world?
Fif- 50,
60.
50,
Wow.
50,
50.
50.
50.
Yeah.
I mean, I read online, I think only in 2024 you opened 17 offices. How did you do it, if I can ask you?
Oh, it's a it's a long story. Kind of I think I told you you just mentioned I'm an operation guy. Actually, before this podcast, you mentioned the crypto intermediary. Actually, I have already told my CFO to contact some intermediary crypto, to do that. So I'm that operation. So kind of uh, for that year, literally, I just even in the LinkedIn, I will kind of message some new guy to said, "Oh, I'm Henry, kind of I'm CEO of Globevisa. What's Globevisa is, and we want to find some partners. Are you interested?" I just contact people, send messages to people in the LinkedIn. If they are not interested, I'm okay. If you didn't answer my message, I'm okay. Then I asked all my providers. This now I try to find some, partners. The picture is like this. If you know any guy like that, please introduce to me. I will talk with them. Then I go to some events like IMC events. Whenever I met some people have some potential, I will just tap his or her shoulder. Can I have a word? I want this partner. Are you interested? If you're not interested, okay, I will just walk away. It's kind of okay for me. So just to use that very simple strategy. We developed that many partners in 1 year.
That's impressive because again, so I think the pro tip for anyone is listening is if you're on LinkedIn and you receive some direct messages from, CEOs, not all the time they are automated messages. Sometimes there are very active, actually, I think CEOs really reaching out and trying to build relationships because that's another, very very incredible things. And I don't know if I can ask you more operationally and from
Of course,
like
anything.
what are the biggest lessons you learned when it came to scale up from, I don't know, two, three offices to then 10 to 20? Um, what have been maybe the major challenges and how did you manage them?
It's a long story, but I may try to summarize. One thing is, excuse me. One thing is, first thing, I think one we have like 12 offices. It's I'm not sure, 15 years ago, because at the time, different offices they have different marketing strategy. They have different operation guys. So as that year, like 15 years ago, I just read some books. It mentioned, oh, blah blah things. So I just made a very quick decision. All the offices we have to do things exactly the same like SOP. So kind of we have to use the same marketing strategy. We have to use the same image. We have to, serve the clients the exactly the same way. By that way, I lost the three offices. Because just the three of them, they don't like that. They just want to do whatever they want. They don't think we should share our information. We should learn from each other. We should do exactly the same way under the brand of Globevisa. So that's something not license. It's something quite important for Globevisa. Then I think one day I think 10 years ago, we began to expand to you know um, countries outside of China, and it was a huge cultural shock. So kind of I think the before we try to send some of our Globevisa stuff to some countries, I suppose maybe I can try that, but that's a disaster. No way we can do that. So it's I kind of um, I think it's 2 years. Paid a lot of money, learn a very simple license. You have to find some local partner for that local country. It is that simple. I'm that stupid, costing 2 years of my time. It's a huge loss, for me. But that's another big lesson I learned.
Gotcha. I can definitely see why, because I know a bit of, the Chinese market, and there is the notorious story of Starbucks, when they had to come to China. So I think, yeah, the culture, but at the same time, yeah, probably you managed to find a solution, because you are now covering 108 countries in terms of
Yeah,
programs. So I think in the end you found the right formula.
yeah. I think right now I think I found the right formula. I may share this experience. You know, After I learned that cyberizing, I have to kind of localize our offices. Kind of in Vietnam, we have to do it in a Vietnam way. In Dubai, in a Dubai way, we try to kind of diversify in our working style, management style things. But then recently, during the past year, we began to do another thing. I think, maybe the world is not that diversified. Still, all our consultants, you have to be professional. Because sometimes some country, and we don't have to be professional. No, you have to be professional. Then for some partners in our country, the people like bargaining, so you have to give them some discount. Right now, I don't think so. So kind of we that's a different strategy. So now we try to put everything I think it's a people starting like in Asia, we need a instant response for everything, but in Western maybe not. I don't agree with that. I think in the West, if I can give you a instant response, you will like it. You will like it. You just don't know we can do that. Because I got a lot of complaints from like American. I sent an email to my lawyer after 3 days, blah, blah, but I sent an email to you, Global Visa. I got the answer after 5 minutes. So I don't think, that's cultural differences. So now I think we are in a different stage.
Now, I want to tell this story because I think it's important. So, I need to work on the documentation for my marriage. And long story short, your team has been so actually it solved our issue, and we were not able to even via lawyers, etc., to do it. They actually the information my almost wife actually got was we will need to wait a few months, I think, for the appointment, and instead with your office we got it in 3 days, and that was frankly impressive. So thanks a lot for for allowing me to speed up this process. And let's mix up more now, a bit more personal, and then we will come back on business. I have one question about, you mentioned about your running, and I know that you did recently something very, very, impressive. So you had the opportunity to do 7 marathons in 7 days in 7 continents. Uh, how did you do it? And how did you even plan, the flights, and how was it actually? Do you plan to do it again?
I may say it's, as a how to say, as a very good runner, I may say it's not that difficult. If you are a good runner, you will understand it's not that difficult. Run several marathons plus things. But the story is quite simple. Every year, I will set up a target, running target. By that, I will push myself to train myself. Actually, the training is my actually the journey is a reward. So the training is my reward, but I need a goal. Set up a goal to do that. So kind of, I think this year, I think February, last year I set up the goal. I will run the 7 marathons in 7 continents. But things, but the organization is quite simple. You just pay money. It's kind of I think it's 50K USD. It's not that expensive. Because you have to remember they hired a big private jet for your team. In every continent, they set up the hosting service, they set up some busing equipment. They did a lot. Even you just take a business trip to 7 continents, you may spend some money. So I just pay the money to the organizer. So that is quite simple. They give me a kind of checklist. This kind of the things you have to pay attention to. Then I got to Cape Town 3 days in advance to know the other runners, to try to make some friends. Then the first stop is Antarctic. So we just took a cargo cargo plane from Cape Town to Antarctic. I think it's 4 hours. Then in the Antarctic, we just um, run a marathon. Then hurry back to the cargo plane. No sleep because you just cannot sleep. Too much noises in the cargo plane. Then no sleep. Straight to the Cape Town. Then another marathon. In Antarctica it's super cold, but in Cape Town that day it's super hot. I think we lost maybe 1/4 of our runners. The
Oh
first,
wow.
yeah,
Okay.
because they just cannot do that because too hot, too cold without any sleep. So we lost 1/4. Then the other 5 continents is easier because we have our 767 private jet, comfortable. So every night, at least we can, not night, every day we can at least get some sleep in the plane. So then the Perth, Australia, Dubai, Madrid, Brazil, then the final stop is Miami. So we finish that. Uh, it's not that hard, actually. It's quite an experience. And we finished the 7 marathons in 7 continents in 6 days.
Oh
It's in
wow.
6 days, not 7 days, in 6 days. So even the organizer told us, wow, we are very lucky. We have no kind of accident, unexpected things happen at all. Everything went well. So it's quite lucky we finished it in 6 days. So it's a very good experience.
That's critical, and sometimes this was very inspirational for me because sometimes you hear very famous speeches on YouTube, and then when we are multiple businesses, you're busy, like we're pushing so much on our side on multiple fronts. Sometimes it's difficult to, it's easy to defocus and maybe to be caught by the specific challenge or setback of the week, and you may lose the, you need to set up always goals that keeps you alive and incentivized and also inspired, and you mentioned something to me very very funny because I'm clearly not built yet for running because I'm very tall, heavy, etc. But yeah, sometimes you can set up a different goal and be eventually the tallest guy in doing a marathon and so far and so on. So it's the angle that matters. Sometimes it's not just the objective output, but it's also the subjective element that allows you to interpret that output. And in terms of you mentioned always books. How many books, out of curiosity, do you read every year, more or
Mm,
less?
50 to 100, something like that. 50 to 100, between 50
Oh
and
wow.
100.
Can I ask you a few questions just because I'm a bit into these things and how do you, so what's your reading schedule? Do you how does it work? Do you prefer physical books? Do you, since you travel a lot, do you use Kindle? I'm super
Kindle.
curious.
I'm a Kindle guy.
Kindle,
Kindle
okay.
all the time. Kindle all the time. Yeah.
I
Even
use
now I
Kindle.
have the color Kindle. Now Kindle has a new version. It's a colorful things. Yeah.
No, which one?
Yes. It's just a new Kindle. You didn't notice that it's a new version of the Kindle. It's a colorful Kindle screen. You buy it,
I'm
just
going
buy
to
it.
I'm going to buy it. Although
Yeah.
I actually, because finally we settled Lisbon, so here I am on. I can't show it because this camera is fixed, but I have my new library. And with you, we always had discussions because I want to have more books, and she's more for a minimalistic house. But do you like Kindle? I love Kindle. I read many books via
Yeah.
Kindle, but the physical book for me it's still unbeaten. What do you think?
No, no, I think I have used Kindle like at least 10 years, at least 10 years. So I got used to it. Maybe I got used to too much to it. Now I don't feel comfortable reading the physical books. I
Oh
will think,
wow!
oh, maybe it's too heavy, or maybe it's the character is too small, or maybe I forgot which pages. I don't like it. I don't like physical books at all.
Out of curiosity, Wh- what's your preference in terms of language for reading? Are you reading in Chinese or do you read also in English?
Of course, Chinese, but. But I have to learn English. So now half of my books is English. I push myself to read the English book to learn English kind of things. Yeah. So if I can choose, I will choose Chinese version. But now I have to, 50% of my books are all in English. Yeah. I use that way to improve my English.
Like same story. Same story. I sometimes also audio listen and read at the same time. And 52 minimum means essentially it's about four. It's about
Yeah.
about
Four
four per
books
month.
per month at least. Yeah.
So it's
Four
one per
books.
week.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a great rhythm. I'm trying to get closer to it, but not all the time. I manage to do it. Also because sometimes I read the more historical books and they are like 800 pages, and
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that take a bit
Sometimes
longer.
yeah, sometimes.
Any book that you would recommend for business or for personal growth?
It's it's quite personal, and I think I think once I read a book, I'll share something. I always cried when I read books. Actually, I'm quite strong. Nobody saw me cry like that, but when I was reading books, I always cry. And because you
Okay,
just yeah, you're so deeply involved into the things. So I think there's a book called God, it's a little history, blah blah things. It's written by I think the lady is Graham, the Washington Post's founder, the Washington Post. That
Hmm.
woman, the Watergate, actually, is that woman did that. Kind of, I read that book. I think it's called a little word, a little history, blah things. I think that's a very very good biography and why I cried a lot of times. I read that book like 3 times. Every time I cried a lot. Why? Just say, wow, what a wonderful woman. You know, facing that kind of difficulties. Is housewife, then the husband cheating publicly, committed suicide in front of her face. Then another thing. I think and the author. I mean that lady is quite honest. It actually it's a Pulitzer winner book biography. I read that book, because I just it's kind of embarrassing. I cried a lot for that book.
that's very interesting. I will search for it and read it. I haven't read it yet. I'm reading quite a few biographies of Isaacson, which is a probably who is in my view one of.
I always like the non-fiction books because then you may have sympathy. So for me, it's for some fiction things, it's hard for me, like a logical person, to have kind of a sympathy. But for some non-fiction books, I like it. And
Gotcha. And Harry, if I can ask you, I write all the time about countries, about cities, and what's your take about if you are in your 20s or in your 30s right now? What are your favorite cities where you would live, both for business and family?
my answer will be quite boring. It's because I think every country has something special, worth our time to explore. So literally, that's my answer. I will just pick any country. I will live there to try to understand that country, to try to love that country. So that is my answer.
Hmm.
and like Portugal, I suppose maybe you love Portugal. Actually, I love Portugal, but that's because I spent like half a year in Portugal. Of course, you will love Portugal, but then, so people tell me which country in the Europe you like. I think maybe Portugal, but I may say because I stayed half a year in Portugal. But if I stay half a year, maybe like in Germany, I may love Germany, or in kind of other countries. So I try to love every country I stay.
Interesting take. Let's get back to migration and just a few other points and perspectives. How do you think? Imagine you are a family right now doing your eventually decisions for new citizenships, new residencies. Um, what are the best advices in general for people who are in the
Yeah.
process of considering new residencies, citizenships, essentially optionality?
My advice will be quite simple, because I do think, most of the people, they don't know the immigration word. They don't know they have so many options. That's quite disappointing. It's just you have no idea. You have so many options. Like if you ask some like American, maybe I will relocate to Mexican, but maybe that's the only country they knew. So they don't know. Maybe in Europe, some very good countries. They don't know. In Dubai is one of the safest, safest city. They they have no idea. They don't know. Japan is good, but they don't know they have the option to apply for a residence in Japan, South Korea. They
Mhm.
have no idea. You travel a lot. You know that Malaysia is a good country, of course.
Yeah.
Like Hong Kong, Taiwan. Most people they cannot tell the difference between mainland China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Singapore. They think the four things are the same. They are so ignorant. So for me, I think my advice is it's quite important for every person. You are born in Earth. Just by chance you are born in some countries. But why let that thing decide your fate, or decide your thing. You kind of you have to live in that country. No, it's not. It's not. You are just by accident. You are born in that country. That doesn't mean you have to live in that country for the following life. You are born on Earth. You have to explore the whole world. So my advice will be quite simple. Try to educate yourself. All of the world. You will see. Australia is amazing. New Zealand is fantastic. Tokyo it's very unexpectedly good. Even South Korea food. Malaysia, vehicles everywhere. Singapore, English friendly, Taiwan food, Taiwan people, Taiwan tone. I mean, Taiwanese, they speak Mandarin in a very sweet tone. I always like Taiwanese. So I think people should educate themselves to know the world. Then try some countries for a few months or few years. I think that's for me that's quite important. It's worth of our life. Why just stay in that country for no reason, just because you are born in there? Yeah. So that's my advice.
Solid advice. Solid advice. Um, Probably my last question will be about the future of Globevisa, where you see Globevisa evolving, because the story of Globevisa has been um, guided by a constant search for innovation since the beginning, because it was a startup actually, and then it scaled in a large organization. So, where do you see Globevisa going in the next 5, 10 years?
My picture is quite simple. I want any of the potential clients, when they met Globevisa, they will see Globevisa this way. And before Globevisa, I don't know. I have so many options. Then I signed contract with Globevisa. I think Globevisa's price is quite reasonable. Globevisa helped me to save a lot of money. Globevisa didn't push me to buy some, expensive options. It just maybe you can apply for a normal visa. It's good for you. They help me save a lot of money, save a lot of time, and they serve me quite well. Before, in the Western countries, I never experienced this kind of service. That's something I want to do. I just want to, every people they want to explore the world. Once they met Globevisa, they will say, "Wow, that's a good company. That's good company. Change their mindset about the immigration world, mindset about the legal service. That's something I want to do."
That's amazing to hear. And I mean, for sure, you changed my experience in retrieving documents in order to be able to get married. And that was amazing. And there is this story that you told me last time that sometimes, and it is a big, for me, a huge lesson. Still at your stage with hundreds of employees, 50 offices, etc., the criticism or feedback your organization receives is, guys, it's too much, in the sense of sometimes there is missing a picture. Instead of disappearing or leaving the thread open for 7 days, 14 days, your team calls the people and eventually tell them, hey, can I come to your house right now? I take your picture and we move the process. And this for me was a phenomenal lesson, because typically when you scale, you can lose maybe the direct touch, or and instead, no, this do you, on this topic, is there any tip or thing you want to share, perhaps in terms of hiring? How do you hire people?
It's not easy. It's not easy. Um, it's quite straightforward. We have to try 10 hiring to get one. So we don't have some magic sayings. We have to try 10 to get one. It's quite inefficient, but I just don't know how to pick the right one at the very beginning. I have to try 10, then get one. But I have to try 10, then because it's that. I mean, see, I like, if for that stuff, I want them to be humble. It's not easy to tell at the very beginning. I want them to be curious, have a passion about this industry. It's not easy. You have to take some time to observe the staff to see whether they are fit to Globevisa, or Globevisa fit to them. So kind of, it's quite sad. I have to try 10 to get one. It's yeah. Yeah, I want to improve the things, but I didn't figure it out yet. So still, I try to hire staff in a very traditional way. It's very inefficient. I just don't know how to solve that problem.
Thanks for sharing this point also. And what about crypto, Bitcoin? What's your take on these topics?
Actually, I'm exploring the world right now. Kind of. I think you mentioned a book. I think 2 years ago, I read a book named. Actually, I can check that book. I have the mobile Kindle and the Kindle. The book is named "How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World."
Huh.
It's a book, actually, I think recommended by the MI, the Christian, MS Christian recommended that book to me. It's very interesting. The idea is, so I think, like the immigration, we just want people to be, free from the government, from the, passport, from the visas. You can go anywhere you want. So I think crypto is still the same thing. We will set people free. How to say, financially, it's kind of this idea. So I'm extremely interested to explore these things. And my way is quite simple. If I'm interested, I will learn. I will read some books. I will watch some YouTube. I will follow your X, to learn as much as I can. So I think, it's kind of, it's the same thing. We are trying to build a free world.
It's an interesting angle because indeed, in the end, the migration industry, new passports, new citizenships, mobility, global living, they are all inspired by the very same principles of the crypto movement, Bitcoin movement in general. And yeah, I think these two different worlds will become progressively more and more intertwined in the next few years. Um, great, also great, answering great tip about this, this book, How I Find Freedom in an Unfree World. I'm going to read it. It's on my list already, and maybe on the Kindle I'm going to buy, thanks to your input. Henry, thank you so much for being with me today, and I really love to have this conversation today, and I hope to have it as an update maybe in a few months, and maybe in person when you're in Lisbon, or when we meet at an event, perhaps in Singapore in the next few months.
Yeah. Yeah. We will
Thank
we will definitely meet each other in Singapore or in Lisbon for sure.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it also in person. But I really appreciate, because it's a bit late there, so I really appreciate your time and your honest, feedback, and also your honest story about, I started doing this because I was thinking to be very good at that for making money, and then I realized, okay, midlife crisis. What else? And then that there's been the real haha moment, right? And incredible story. Thank you so much for all these very valuable insight. Have a good one, and I hope to see you soon.
Yeah, we will. Bye.
Bye.